If you are a manager who doesn't actually like to manage, this episode is for you. This management system is simple, free, and it manages itself. We're talking about leaderboards. Stay tuned to hear how this concept can transform almost any business.
Lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Boltz. I'm an attorney and founder of Boltz Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Boltz, owner of Boltz Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the miss in biz.
Let's get biz done.
How many of us are guilty of keeping an employee longer than we should because we didn't want to have the uncomfortable conversation of letting someone go? Have you ever known that someone was underperforming but didn't have the stats to actually hold that person accountable?
I recently attended the Morgan & Morgan Grow or Die conference in Las Vegas, and I got inspired for so many podcast episodes, so stay tuned for some really good content. But one of the stories he shared is that before he built his massive personal injury law firm, that he sold Yellow Page ads. And every single day, well, some of our young listeners may not even know what Yellow Page ads are.
True.
So if you don't know what a Yellow Page ad is, we used to have these things called phone books that were massive, like probably 4-inch.
Big encyclopedia looking things.
Yes.
If you know
books.
what an encyclopedia is.
They may not know that either. Big, like 4-inch thick books that just had everybody's phone number in them. And so the white pages were for individuals, and then the yellow pages were for businesses. And so if you were a business who wanted to promote yourself, you would buy a bigger ad within the yellow pages, and you would pay to have your ad like towards the front of that section because they were divided by professions. So for example, as a lawyer, if I was a lawyer back then, I would pay money to be maybe the first, kind of like Google, you pay to be on the first page of Google. Right. You would pay to be on the first page of the yellow pages, or you would pay for a big size ad within the page. And everybody used the yellow pages to find phone numbers because we didn't have the internet. So he sold these yellow page ads to businesses, and every single day he had to post his sales numbers, not just him, but all of the other salesmen. And it wasn't once a month or once a quarter, every day. So everyone always knew where they stood in the sales rankings. Everyone knew who was winning. Everyone knew who was falling behind. And something interesting happened. Management didn't have to manage nearly as much because the leaderboard did it for them. Nobody wanted to be at the bottom. Nobody wanted to explain why their numbers were weak, and everybody wanted the recognition that came from being at the top. And so that's why I call this management without management. The scoreboard created accountability long before a manager ever walked into the room. A manager never had to say, your numbers are bad, because the accountability of being on the leaderboard motivated people on its own.
Absolutely. And the reason why leaderboards work is because most employees don't wake up wondering how they can maximize company profitability, but they do care about winning. They care about recognition. They care about being respected by their peers. And leaderboards tap into something incredibly human, which is competition. You don't have to threaten people. You don't have to constantly remind them. You simply make performance visible. What gets measured gets improved. What gets displayed gets improved even faster.
Yeah, one of the things that stuck out to me was John Morgan said, your employees don't have the same goals you do. As the owner, you're looking for overall business growth. The employee probably doesn't even care about that. The employee just cares about their own recognition, their own paycheck. You know, they're looking at it from a self-centered approach as opposed to a business-wide approach. And so by doing a leaderboard, and he explained that Morgan & Morgan still uses those leaderboards. Attorneys' fees settled for the week or month are displayed for everyone to see. Everyone knows where they stand, and then they take it an even step further. Each attorney sets an annual goal, and if they exceed that goal by a predetermined percentage, they qualify for what they call a wolves trip.
Yeah, so I'm very curious
about the wolves trip.
Yeah.
So the wolves trip comes from the phrase, people run faster when a wolf is chasing them.
Okay.
So it's funny, it's memorable, but it is true. When there's a meaningful target, people move differently. They think differently. They perform differently. The wolf's trip isn't really about the trip. It's about creating a reason to stretch beyond what someone thought was possible. Without that wolf's trip, if someone met their goal, they would probably be content with that.
Right.
But John wants to push them beyond what they think their goal is, beyond what their goal is. And so if they exceed their goals, then they get this extra incentive of going on these trips, one of which he said was to Hawaii, and they spent like $2 million or something like that on the trip. But he said the profit they made from people exceeding their goals was like $50 million. So the $2 million expense of the trip was more than paid for because people pushed themselves
right
beyond what they otherwise would.
Finding guests for a podcast can be difficult sometimes, so Brooke and I wanted to let you guys know that we are available to appear on your podcast.
We also enjoy speaking at events, so if you have an event coming up, these jingles can go on the road.
Simply go to missbiz.com/contact and in the subject line, write podcast guest or event speaker, and we'll reach out to you to further coordinate.
So every business needs a scoreboard. The biggest mistake business owners make is keeping score hidden. If your team doesn't know the score, how can they know if they're winning? A marketing team might track consultations. A receptionist might track answered calls. A realtor might track houses sold. The specific metric matters less than having a metric. The scoreboard creates focus, and focus creates results.
So let's talk about something that may make some people uncomfortable. So take out a piece of paper, take out your phone, something you can write on, and write down every single person in your organization. And now ask yourself one question. If this position became vacant tomorrow, would I enthusiastically hire this person again? If the answer is maybe, or they've been here a long time, that is not sufficient.
Yeah.
The answer needs to be a resounding, yes, I would hire this person again if this position were vacant, knowing what I know about them now. But if the answer is no, then you've identified a problem. Also, rank those employees with an A, B, C, D, or F scale. C players and below, they've got to go. And I know that sounds harsh, but C players drain culture, productivity, and morale. Your A players know exactly who the C players are, and every day you tolerate a C player, your A players wonder why excellence isn't required of everyone. Mm-hmm. And B players deserve a conversation. And you have to figure out, are they always going to be a B player, or can they be transformed into an A player? Something like a leaderboard is something that might help B players move to A players because they have that extra motivation and incentive. So some people simply need coaching, some need training, some need clarity, some have untapped potential, but eventually every leader has to determine whether that person is growing or plateauing. And then there are the true A players, and your A players can never leave. You invest in them, you develop them, you reward them, you protect them. A players build companies. A players attract other A players, and A players create momentum.
So if you're struggling with accountability, motivation, or performance, don't start by adding another meeting. Start by adding a scoreboard. Create a leaderboard. Make the score visible. Give people something meaningful to chase, and then take a hard look at your roster, because great businesses are built by great people who know exactly what winning looks like. And when people can see the score, amazing things happen. Management becomes a lot easier, and sometimes the leaderboard does most of the work for you.
We incorporated leaderboards. We didn't call it that, but the way we do it at Boltz Legal is we have a group chat on Teams, and it's called monthly stats. And so we put in there the numbers of everyone each month, and everybody can see what everyone is doing in performance. And it's also transparency with how the firm is doing. So everybody knows what our numbers are, how much we're bringing in, and how each person is performing. And while no one has ever said to me whether that motivates them or not, I have to believe that it does, because I know it does for me to be able to see those figures and want to improve where I can.
Yeah, I think it keeps people accountable. I think it also pushes them to want to do more because they want to win.
Yeah.
Do you love the Miss Biz podcast?
Because we love you.
Here's 3 things you can do to show your support.
1, write us a review. Apple, Spotify, and Google My Business are the best platforms to write a review.
2, follow us on social media. Our handle is at Miss Biz Podcast.
3, join our Facebook group, Miss Biz Nation, for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage. Also, ask questions related to your business and discuss topics from our episodes.
Humans are competitive in nature.
And if people are consistently not performing or underperforming on the leaderboard, then a lot of times they will weed themselves out anyways. I think about BNI actually, because BNI has a leaderboard.
Yeah.
Every month we get a score from 0 to 100% in BNI, and then we're color coded. If you're 70 or above, you're green. If you're, I don't even know, 55 or something to 70, you're yellow. And then if you're below, I think 55, you're red. And so our chapter prints out that leaderboard every week, and every person who comes to the meeting gets the sheet, and you can see if you're in the green, yellow, or red. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's highly motivating. I don't know if I've ever not been in the green, because I just want to be in the green. I don't know. I couldn't live with myself if I was not in the green.
I beat myself up whenever I have a month and I'm not at 100%.
Yeah, well, that's even super aggressive because 100 is really hard to accomplish. Being in the green is not. I don't think it's so hard because you only have to have 70%. But being at 100,
what you're supposed to do.
Right. I mean, just showing up there, you got to do some things to be in the green. It's not like the easiest thing in the world. You got to have attendance. You got to do the things. But 70% of the time, I mean, if you were in school, that would be a C.
Right.
So if you get a C, you're in the green with BNI. But some people aren't motivated by that. They're in the red week after week after week.
And nobody's holding them accountable either. if they're in the red week after week.
But that's the thing about the leaderboards is you don't really, that is the accountability. You're in the red.
Well,
and everybody's
no, the
seeing
accountability is the president getting with the mentor coordinator and assigning them a mentor to help that person get out of the green or get into the green. And then if they're not in the green, giving them the boot.
But if you're an A player, should you really have to do that?
No.
Is it that challenging? Is it that challenging
No.
to figure out how to get into the green?
No.
You know, like it's...
If you're an A player, you're not going to need a mentor to help you get
Exactly.
in there. Yeah.
Exactly. So, it's telling as well when people are in the red for extended periods of time, I can't help but think that it probably affects the referrals they receive.
For sure.
I would, I don't know. When someone's in the green and they're at 100 or they're 90 or any number in the green, then I feel more comfortable to send them a referral than if they're not. Just because I know if they're doing a good job here and they're doing what they need to do here in B&I, then that probably affects their rest of their life and their rest of their business. So,
and I know that I always think like, okay, if this is the way that they're treating their commitment to B&I, then how are they treating their commitment to their profession? How are they treating my clientele? Even though I'm sure that a lot of them are way better at what they do for their profession than they are at B&I. That's what you automatically think is, are they going to treat my clients the way that they treat B&I members?
Exactly. And you know what, something else that I've noticed, tell me if this is consistent with what you've noticed, but the people who seem to not be motivated by the leaderboard, who consistently fall into the red, a lot of times are not the owner of the business, they are an employee of the business. And that seems to go in line with what we said earlier, that the employees' goals are not the same as the owner's goals. The employee is there to receive. They're really not there to give.
Right.
And so when we see people who aren't there to give, a lot of times they don't have that motivation because they're not the overall business owner who's concerned about the reputation of the business as a whole. They're just there because maybe their boss is making them.
Right.
And they're there to try to get referrals, not to give, and that is what consistently makes them fall into the red because they're not giving.
Right.
So anyways, but if you aren't doing leaderboards, you have a team, something to consider. It's a way to keep people accountable without having to have a conversation all the time about their performance, because they know and everybody knows.
And if you need help developing leaderboards for your industry, put it in ChatGPT, Claude, whatever AI platform that you use, and give it the right prompts. You can even use an example of B&I and the structure that they have and ask them to create a similar setup for your specific industry.
We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltzlegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltzmedia.com. Let's get biz done.